All right, we're gonna do things a little bit differently today because here in my garage, I have no. We love knowledge. No, what are we talking about? We're talking about quarantine. So real quick, as many of you I'm sure know, this is a tib, right? We're gonna call this a tib. Sometimes people call these sterilites. Sometimes they'll call them click clacks. You know, the ones with the handles on the side, named click clack. I don't know why. Oh yeah, I do know why, because it has two handles that go click clack. So let's go back to this one. The reason that we want to use these plastic tubs is that plastic is non-porous, and so anything we get on here, we can pretty much wash off. These are also pretty resilient to things like boiling water. So if we wanted to boil this, run it through the dishwasher, steam it, whatever we want to do, here we go. It's also relatively cheap. So if you got one of these tubs and used it for quarantine and it turned out there was something wrong with the animal, let's say your bearded dragon had CAN-V, if your ball python had nidovirus, if your leopard gecko had cryptosporidium, whatever it is, and there was a problem, you could just throw this away. It's not that big of an investment. You could also, of course, disinfect it if you wanted it to, or if you wanted to. But yeah, so little plastic tub, that's why we use these. I want to make sure that nobody says that I told you to keep an animal in this for life. That's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is specifically to talk about quarantine. When you get these tubs, of course, you want to wash these tubs. You can use something like Dawn or some, I don't know what it's called overseas, Pixie or something like that as an equivalent. But you know, use a really good soap and wash everything out of here. Make sure there's no debris in here. Make sure there's no plastic debris, etc., etc. Make sure you remove stickers and stuff like that off of it. Make sure you remove any sticky substances. Again, warm water and Dawn, something like that will get rid of that. The reason we want that is, again, we want a totally non-porous, easy to clean tub, right? We want an enclosure that we can easily possibly disinfect if we need to. We also want it to be nice and clean so that we don't confuse anything in there with a sample from the animal. Now, here's a part where I'm sure a bunch of people are going to scream and complain, but I'm going to show you the right way to do this. So you'll probably see videos out there where people are talking about stab the plastic with a soldering iron or something like that. Don't do that. That's ridiculous. Do not do that. So not only do you have to deal with the idea that it's kind of dangerous. So you've got a hot metal thingy that you're stabbing stuff with. It's not great, right? Not only that, but you're melting the plastic. In some cases, you're violating how it's non-porous now by creating this gnarly hole that you've just stabbed through. And then of course you have plastic fumes. So there's no reason to do that. It's bad. Instead, the thing you want to do is go grab yourself a set of drill bits that are specifically for woodworking, right? So I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick that up, but these are specifically for woodworking. Now, the difference between a woodworking drill bit and other drill bits is that the channels, or however you want to say it on this, are actually, they're really sharp, right? So if I put my finger, I could probably cut myself on this. It also has this really big spike at the end, which is helpful for drilling plastic. These drill bits are good for pretty much any plastic. You can use these on PVC, you can use these on these tubs, you can use these on the tougher tubs, you can use these on tubs that usually go in racks, like something from Freedom Breeder or ARS, that'll go through that too. You can also probably use them what they're for. No, we're not going to do that. So with my little pitch for the wood drill bits, I'm going to show you how easy this is. I've got a little tub here that I've made a bunch of holes in. You want to make sure that you're doing this relatively slowly. If you run up and you just go, right, what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up with these little gnarly holes that have plastic. It's like melted plastic all over the inside. Once again, we're kind of violating our quarantine if we've just got stuff with a bunch of gnarly holes that collect a bunch of crap. So you just want to, gently get it started. Don't run fast like that. You want to gently kind of let it go through and clean up any of that material. Sometimes you'll end up with stuff stuck on the outside. That's not a big deal. But you can see the difference between the hole that we made that is kind of gnarly and the other ones which are all pretty clean here. So now we've got holes on our enclosure. Why are we putting holes in our enclosure? Well, so one of the obvious reasons people are going to say is so the animal can breathe, right? These aren't particularly airtight. So it's not only to make it it's not only to allow the animal to breathe, it's to make sure that we have enough ventilation in here. If we have no ventilation in this tub and we have this tub at a relatively, moderate temperature, let's say 85 degrees or something like that, with standing water and some substrate in it, then you're going to end up with mold and mildew and all sorts of bad things. You can prevent some of that by increasing the ventilation. So that's two things that the ventilation does here. But still, because we want ventilation in this, we want to make sure that we have nice, clean holes. We want to keep everything nice and clean. That's quarantine, nice and clean, nice and clean, nice and clean, nice and clean. Now, real quick, the wood drill bit thing here. I've seen people that have used things like the hot nail or hot soldering iron or whatever on even tarantula enclosures, which, you know, again, I don't want to burn plastic near tarantulas. This will also work on that hard acrylic, but you have to, again, go slow or you'll end up cracking it. So make sure that you buy two, test on one, and that way if you mess it up, then you don't have to run out and get another one. That drill definitely works on stuff like this though, no problem. I've got plenty of acrylic cases that I've used the same thing on as well, and you end up with a nice, wonderful, clean cut hole. Everybody's happy, right? Now the other part that I want to talk about is when we get to the substrate, right? Now, most of the time, you will hear people say to use paper towel as the substrate. So, you pull your paper towel out, you slap it in there. There's a lot of problems with paper towels. So the first one that I want to talk about is actually, I would say it's pretty rare. However, it's not non-existent, right? So paper towels are absorbent, they get wet. You put an animal like a king snake or, something that likes to put everything in its mouth, and they could actually start to get this material stuck in their mouth. Maybe it gets stuck on a prey item, whatever it is. If a wet paper towel goes down the snake's throat, you are not getting it back. That snake is going to more than likely have serious problems / choke to death / whatever, right? I don't think it's very common. I know somebody's going to pop up and say that, oh, I've been doing this for 9,372 years, ain't never ding dang colubried paper towel in its mouth. Wonderful, great. Enjoy your career at Walmart. However, it is a possibility. And so I avoid it not only that, but for several other reasons. When an animal defecates on this, then this is going to absorb most of that material. So I'm not going to be able to get a clean fecal sample because the material will have absorbed most of it. So that's not great. This is also relatively soft material. So when it gets wet and they push it into a circle, then it's kind of like not doing its job. It's not doing anything for me at that point in time. It's not even covering the bottom of the enclosure because the animal has pushed it into a ball at the bottom. And not only that, but paper towels are kind of expensive, right? So if you are the brand new owner of let's say a leopard gecko, and you want to line the bottom of your quarantine enclosure with paper towels, good for you. Go for it. Wonderful. No big deal, right? It's available. It's accessible. It's right there in your kitchen. Go for it. It's relatively easy to spot mites in this because it's bright white, right? Yeah, go for it. No problem. If you're doing this more than once, if you're doing this in a way that, is safe and repeatable, you want to go get craft paper. That's what this is. So you'll find this on different places listed either as craft paper or as butcher block. So the reason that I like this is, one, we don't have to worry about the animal ingesting this or anything like that. Two, it's less prone, I would say, to mold or mildew or anything like that because paper towels are very fibrous. And so they can grow all of that fun stuff. They'll end up pushed in a circle in the middle of the enclosure. This won't do that. This is very easy. It's not that absorbent, so when an animal does defecate on this, I have a nice little poo to collect in order to send off my fecal sample. So this stuff, superior paper towels. I know a lot of people are gonna be angry. You don't have to be angry. It's okay. It's okay. This is superior to paper towels. That's it. Now, that's easy enough to cut, plop into your enclosure. I have one prepared here. You can see that we've got, the craft paper in there. We've got those nice, clean, pretty holes, I'm not gonna put those words together again on a YouTube video. But yeah, so we've got our enclosure set up. Now, once we've got it set up, there's, definitely a lot of things to be mindful of. So we wanna make sure that we have enough ventilation. We wanna make sure that we don't have the possibility for the animal escape. There is, the Sterilite gasket box is way superior than this one. This is just one I put together, right? So we don't want the animal to be able to escape. Some people might clamp this, some people might put something heavy on it, whatever it is. Make sure the animal can't escape, right? Make sure that our ventilation is enough. If you have to, go through and drill some more holes. And then make sure that we've got, coverage for the substrate. As far as the rest of the decoration for this, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but keep in mind that we want to make sure that we design this in a way that it's easy to clean, it's easy to get samples, it's easy to monitor the behavior of the animal, and if something goes horribly wrong, we can throw this whole thing out. So do the same thing when it comes to the rest of the furniture. So things like deli cups for water bowls, great. Fast food restaurant stuff, great. Whatever trash you can use that you are not, you don't want, use in here. I would not recommend using something like ceramic bowls or anything heavy, because if you pick this up, then you have a chance of sliding that ceramic bowl around. Not only is it going to spill the water, but it might end up knocking into the animal or something. So I would avoid things like ceramic bowls. I would avoid things like naturalistic bowls, naturalistic hides. All of that stuff is generally going to be a little heavy. You can decorate your new quarantine tub with literal trash, right? So you can get things like fast food containers, you can get plastic cups, you can get any of that stuff that you'll be able to clean and or discard, right? And then we also want it to be safe in there for the animal, so I wouldn't put anything too heavy in here, because the expectation is you may be picking this up, and when you do that, you don't want to slap a leopard gecko with a ceramic bowl. That sounds terrible. So those are my tips. So you've got, get yourself wood drill bits. Make sure that they are very sharp in the channel to remove that plastic crap that you're going to remove by drilling. Maybe get yourself a little test tub or something and practice the speed that you can go when you drill into these to avoid any sort of melting of the plastic. You can remove that plastic with a razor blade or something, of course, but ideally you'll just be able to drill through it and get all the plastic removed. Those drill bits are great anyway. You can drill through things like PVC. You can drill through, these tubs, any other tubs, hard plastic. You could use them for what they're supposed to be for and drill through wood, I guess, whatever you want to do with it. But yeah, and then of course, paper towels, I do not recommend. People will fight me to the death on that because they have stock in Brawny, whatever the name is. But really, just go get this crap. It'll last you forever. You can use this. For a very long time, and yeah, it's easier to collect samples, easier to monitor the animal. They're not going to end up tied up in this. This is not going to mildew or mold or anything like that as fast as something like a paper towel would. And yeah, I'll see you then.